the biblical lens on supernatural entertainment. Modern entertainment often trivializes the supernatural, but the Bible offers a different perspective. We'll explore how to view these portrayals through a biblical lens. In a world where ghosts and ghouls are often played for laughs, the scriptures paint a far more profound picture of the spiritual realm. Consider, if you will, the stark contrast between a film like Beetlejuice and the biblical accounts of spiritual encounters. While one presents spirits as mischievous pranksters, the other speaks of beings with significant power and purpose in God's cosmic order. This raises a crucial question. How does the Bible's view of the supernatural differ from popular media like Beetlejuice? The answer to this question is not merely academic. Understanding these differences can profoundly impact one's spiritual discernment and worldview. It's akin to the difference between viewing the world through a kaleidoscope and a telescope. One distorts reality for entertainment, while the other reveals truths about our universe and our place within it. Spirits in Scripture, a complex hierarchy. While pop culture paints spirits as simple specters, Scripture suggests a startling alternative. Imagine a cosmic order where demons aren't just fallen angels, but the restless souls of long-extinct hybrid creatures. How might this change your understanding of the unseen world around us? The Bible presents a far more intricate spiritual landscape than what we see in films like Beetlejuice. Instead of mischievous ghosts and comical demons, Scripture reveals a complex hierarchy of spiritual beings that would make any earthly bureaucracy seem simple by comparison. At the top of this celestial pecking order we find the sons of God, a term that refers to the divine council or heavenly beings. These aren't your typical winged cherubs or harp-playing angels. Rather, they're powerful entities that play significant roles in God's cosmic governance. Think of them as the celestial equivalent of high-ranking officials or cosmic administrators. But here's where it gets truly fascinating. According to biblical scholars like Dr. Michael Heiser, demons aren't simply fallen angels as popular theology often suggests. Instead, they're understood to be the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, the offspring of these sons of God and human women, as described in Genesis 6. It's like discovering that the ghosts in your attic aren't just random specters, but the restless spirits of an ancient hybrid race. This concept of demons as Nephilim spirits adds layers of complexity to our understanding of the spiritual realm. It suggests a world where the boundaries between the human and divine have been blurred, creating entities that don't neatly fit into our typical categories of angel or human. It's as if we've discovered a new species in the spiritual ecosystem, one that challenges our preconceived notions of what spirits are and where they come from. The Bible also speaks of unclean spirits, a term that might conjure images of filthy ghosts or corrupted souls. However, the biblical understanding is far more nuanced. Dr. Heiser explains that the concept of unclean spirits is tied to the idea of forbidden mixtures, reflecting the biblical emphasis on purity and holiness. It's not about spiritual hygiene, but about entities that represent a deviation from God's intended order. This idea of unclean spirits being linked to forbidden mixtures further reinforces the connection to the Nephilim. These spirits are unclean, not because they're inherently evil, but because they represent a transgression of divine boundaries. It's like finding out that the haunted house in your neighborhood isn't just occupied by any old ghost, but by spirits that embody a cosmic taboo. Perhaps most intriguing is the fate of these spirits. Unlike the sons of God, who were imprisoned for their transgressions, the spirits of the Nephilim were not sent to hell. Instead, they became demons that roam the earth, seeking re-embodiment. It's a chilling thought. These aren't distant, otherworldly entities, but spirits that actively seek interaction with our physical world. This complex hierarchy and origin of spirits have profound implications for how we understand spiritual interactions in our daily lives. It suggests that the unseen world around us is far more populated and diverse than we might have imagined. Each type of spirit, from angels to demons to unclean spirits, has its own nature, motivations, and limitations. Understanding this spiritual hierarchy can radically shift our perspective on supernatural phenomena. When we hear of ghostly encounters or demonic possessions, we're not just dealing with generic good or evil spirits. Instead, we're potentially interacting with entities that have a long, complex history stretching back to the earliest days of human existence. This biblical view of spirits also underscores the importance of spiritual discernment. With such a variety of spiritual entities, each with its own agenda, it becomes crucial to test the spirits, as the Apostle John advises. Not every supernatural encounter is what it seems, and not every spirit has our best interests at heart. The underworld. Sheol versus Hollywood. But what if our understanding of the afterlife itself is fundamentally flawed? The biblical concept of Sheol presents a startling contrast to Hollywood's depiction of the great beyond. Could our modern notions of ghosts and spirits be leading us astray from a more profound spiritual truth? When we think of the afterlife, our minds often conjure images influenced by popular media, perhaps a comedic purgatory like in Beetlejuice, or a simplistic division between heaven and hell. However, the Bible paints a far more nuanced picture, one that challenges our preconceptions and invites us to reconsider our understanding of what lies beyond death's door. In the Old Testament, we encounter the concept of Sheol, a term that defies easy categorization. Unlike the clear-cut divisions we see in modern entertainment, Sheol is described as a place for both the righteous and the unrighteous dead. It's not a realm of eternal punishment or reward, but rather a shadowy underworld where all souls await final judgment. Imagine, if you will, a vast waiting room where kings and paupers, saints and sinners all reside. This is the biblical Sheol, a far cry from the whimsical afterlife of Beetlejuice or the fiery pits of popular imagination. In Sheol, the dead exist in a state that the ancient Israelites viewed as undesirable, often associated with darkness and a lack of vitality. It's as if the vibrancy of life has been drained away, leaving behind a mere shadow of existence. This concept of Sheol stands in stark contrast to the lively, often comical depictions of the afterlife we see in modern media. While Beetlejuice presents a bureaucratic afterlife filled with quirky characters and supernatural hijinks, the biblical underworld is a place of stillness and separation from the fullness of life. But why does this matter? Understanding the biblical concept of Sheol can profoundly impact our view of death, judgment, and the nature of our existence beyond this life. It reminds us that the afterlife isn't a simple matter of reward or punishment, but a complex state of being that reflects the mystery and gravity of our relationship with the divine. Moreover, the New Testament builds upon this foundation using the Greek term Hades interchangeably with Sheol. This continuity suggests that even as understanding evolved, the core concept of an intermediate state between death and final judgment remained. It's a sobering reminder that our earthly actions have consequences that extend beyond our physical demise. Perhaps most significantly, the concept of Sheol underscores the transformative power of Christ's resurrection. In conquering death, Jesus didn't just overcome a Hollywood-style villain. He triumphed over the very realm that held all of humanity in its grip. This victory doesn't just change our destination after death, it redefines the entire landscape of the afterlife. Consider how this biblical view might reshape our understanding of supernatural encounters. If the dead truly reside in Sheol, awaiting judgment, then what are we to make of supposed ghostly apparitions or communications with the deceased? The Bible's teachings suggest that these experiences, rather than being genuine encounters with the departed, may be something else entirely, perhaps deceptions or manifestations of other spiritual entities. This isn't to say that all supernatural experiences are inherently evil. The Bible does include instances where spirits appear to provide messages or comfort. However, these occurrences are rare. and always serve God's purposes, rather than satisfying human curiosity or entertainment. Necromancy and mediums, biblical warnings. While divine messengers occasionally bridge the gap between worlds, the Bible fiercely condemns certain supernatural practices. What makes necromancy and mediumship so dangerous in God's eyes? The answer lies in a biblical account that challenges our understanding of the spiritual realm. The Bible's stance on communicating with the dead is unequivocal. Leviticus 19:31 warns, "Do not turn to mediums or necromancers, do not seek them out, and so make yourselves unclean by them." This prohibition isn't merely a suggestion, it's a command that carries severe consequences. But why such a strong admonition against these practices? To understand this, we must examine one of the most intriguing accounts in Scripture, the story of Saul and the Witch of Endor. Picture this: a desperate king, forsaken by God, seeks guidance from the very practices he once outlawed. It's a scene that could rival any modern supernatural thriller, yet it's found in the pages of 1 Samuel 28. The narrative unfolds with Saul, disguised and desperate, seeking out a medium to communicate with the deceased prophet Samuel. What happens next is nothing short of extraordinary. The medium, to her own surprise, actually succeeds in summoning Samuel's spirit. This unexpected success raises profound questions about the nature of spiritual encounters and the boundaries between the living and the dead. One might ask, if the medium successfully contacted Samuel, doesn't this validate the practice of necromancy? This is where we must tread carefully. The Bible often records events without endorsing them. The success of the séance doesn't negate God's prohibition. Rather, it serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of dabbling in forbidden practices. Consider the concept of familiar spirits mentioned in Scripture. These are not benign supernatural helpers, but entities that form partnerships with mediums. They provide knowledge about individuals or events, creating an illusion of insight. It's akin to a spiritual con game, where the spirit mimics the deceased, offering just enough truth to make the deception believable. The danger lies not just in the act of communication, but in the source of the information. Even if a spirit provides accurate details, the ultimate aim is deception. It's like receiving insider trading tips from an anonymous source. The information might be correct, but the motivations behind it are suspect and ultimately destructive. This brings us to a crucial point: the potential spiritual dangers of seeking supernatural encounters outside of God's authority. When we engage in practices like necromancy or consulting mediums, we're essentially bypassing God's established order. It's akin to attempting to rewire your home's electrical system without any training or permission. The results can be disastrous. Moreover, these practices often prey on our vulnerabilities. Grief, curiosity, or a desire for control can lead us to seek answers from sources that God has explicitly warned against. It's like a grieving widow falling prey to a con artist who claims to communicate with her deceased husband. The emotional toll can be devastating. The Bible's warnings against these practices aren't meant to deprive us of spiritual experiences or knowledge. Rather, they're protective measures, guiding us towards safe and sanctioned ways of understanding the spiritual realm. It's comparable to traffic laws. They might seem restrictive, but they're designed for our safety and the smooth functioning of society. Ghostly encounters, comfort, or deception. While God's guardrails for spiritual encounters are clear, the Bible presents a more nuanced view of the supernatural than many realize. Are all ghostly encounters inherently evil, or could some serve a higher purpose? The answer might challenge everything you thought you knew about spirits in Scripture. Dr. Michael Heiser, a scholar of the supernatural in Scripture, posits that the spiritual world is far more intricate than most people realize. He suggests that there are various categories of spirits, including the spirits of the deceased, which are distinct from demons. This perspective invites us to reconsider our understanding of ghostly encounters. Perhaps not all such experiences are inherently malevolent or deceptive. Indeed, the Bible recounts instances where spirits appear to deliver messages or provide comfort. Consider the transfiguration of Jesus, where Moses and Elijah appeared to speak with him, or the angel that comforted Hagar in the wilderness. These accounts suggest that not all supernatural experiences are evil by default. Some may be providential encounters allowed by God for specific purposes. However, this nuanced view doesn't negate the need for spiritual discernment. The Apostle John advises us to test the spirits to see whether they are from God. 1 John 4:1. This instruction implies that while some spiritual encounters may be benign or even beneficial, others could be deceptive or harmful. It's akin to navigating a complex spiritual ecosystem where not every creature is immediately identifiable as friend or foe. The concept of spiritual warfare further complicates our understanding of supernatural experiences. If we accept that there are opposing forces in the spiritual realm, we must consider the possibility that seemingly benevolent encounters could be part of a more elaborate deception. It's like receiving a suspiciously generous offer from a stranger. While it might be genuine, prudence dictates a healthy dose of skepticism. So, how do we navigate this complex spiritual landscape? The Bible provides some guidance. First, we're encouraged to seek wisdom from God, James 1:5. This isn't just about accumulating knowledge, but developing spiritual discernment, the ability to distinguish between truth and deception in the supernatural realm. It's like honing a spiritual immune system, enabling us to recognize and resist harmful influences while remaining open to genuine divine encounters. Secondly, we're advised to measure all experiences against the teachings of Scripture. Any supernatural encounter that contradicts or undermines biblical truth should be viewed with extreme caution. This doesn't mean dismissing all unexplained experiences outright, but rather evaluating them critically in light of God's revealed word. Lastly, we should consider the fruits of these encounters. Jesus taught that we would know false prophets by their fruits, Matthew 7:15-20. Similarly, we can evaluate supernatural experiences by their outcomes. Do they lead to greater love for God and others? Do they align with the character of Christ? Or do they promote fear, division, or self-exaltation? These questions can serve as a litmus test for discerning the nature of spiritual encounters. The resurrection, ultimate victory over death. Evaluating spiritual encounters is important, but there's an even more pressing question. What happens when we die? The Bible's answer might surprise you, and it's far more revolutionary than any ghost story you've ever heard. The concept of resurrection stands at the very heart of Christian faith, offering a perspective on death and the afterlife that fundamentally alters our understanding of the supernatural. Unlike the finality of death often portrayed in media like Beetlejuice, or even the shadowy existence described in Sheol, the biblical promise of resurrection presents a radically different outcome. Consider, if you will, the implications of Christ's words in Revelation 1:18. I am the living one. I was dead, and now look, I am alive forever and ever, and I hold the keys of death and Hades. This isn't merely a claim to have cheated death. It's a declaration of absolute authority over the realm of the dead. It's as if death itself has been dethroned, its power stripped away by one who has experienced it and emerged victorious. This authority of Christ over death and Hades isn't just a theological concept. It has weighty implications for how we view the supernatural. In Matthew 27:52-53, we read of an extraordinary event following Christ's resurrection. The tombs broke open, and the bodies of many holy people who had died were raised to life. They came out of the tombs, and after Jesus' resurrection, they went into the holy city and appeared to many people. Now, this isn't your typical ghost story. These weren't disembodied spirits or ethereal apparitions, but resurrected bodies, a foretaste of the ultimate resurrection promised to believers. It's as if the veil between life and death had been momentarily torn, revealing a glimpse of the power that will one day transform all of creation. The promise of resurrection fundamentally alters our perspective on supernatural themes in entertainment. While movies like Beetlejuice might present death as a comical bureaucratic nightmare or a permanent state of ghostly existence, the biblical view offers something far more profound: the hope of complete restoration and renewal. This hope isn't just about avoiding a dreary afterlife, it's about participating in the ultimate victory over death itself. As Paul writes in 1 Corinthians 15:54-55, "When the perishable has been clothed with the imperishable, and the mortal with immortality, then the saying that is written will come true. Death has been swallowed up in victory. Where, O death, is your victory? Where, O death, is your sting?" It's a triumphant declaration that makes most supernatural tales pale in comparison. But how does this belief in resurrection impact our approach to supernatural themes in entertainment? For one, it encourages a more critical and discerning view. When we understand the ultimate destiny promised to believers, the allure of ghostly encounters or communication with the dead loses its power. Instead of seeking comfort or guidance from departed spirits, we're directed to place our hope in the one who conquered death. Moreover, the reality of resurrection challenges the very premises of many supernatural narratives. The idea that spirits are trapped in some intermediate state, unable to move on, becomes less compelling when viewed through the lens of Christ's victory over death. It's like comparing a child's nightlight to the blazing sun. The former may provide temporary comfort, but the latter transforms the entire landscape. This isn't to say that all supernatural entertainment is inherently problematic. Rather, understanding the biblical view of resurrection equips us to engage with these themes more thoughtfully. We can appreciate the creativity and storytelling while recognizing where they diverge from biblical truth. It's akin to watching a historical drama. We can enjoy the narrative while being aware of its departures from actual events. Discernment in a supernatural world. In a world saturated with supernatural entertainment, discernment becomes crucial. The Bible's portrayal of the spiritual realm differs significantly from Hollywood's depictions. While pop culture often trivializes spirits as mischievous entities, Scripture presents a complex hierarchy with profound implications. Consider the stark contrast between a film like Beetlejuice and biblical accounts of spiritual encounters. One offers comedic spectacle, while the other warns of serious spiritual realities. This disparity underscores the need for critical thinking when engaging with supernatural themes in media. As Dr. Michael Heiser cautions, we should approach the spiritual realm with care, recognizing our limited ability to control such encounters. This wisdom applies not only to real-life experiences, but also to our consumption of supernatural entertainment. By viewing these portrayals through a biblical lens, we can appreciate creativity while maintaining a grounded, faith-informed perspective on the unseen world around us. Thank you for watching today. Make sure to subscribe and like the video so that you can watch more true Bible legends.